is not only one of the biggest stories of the year, it's one of the biggest stories of the fucking generation. Probably in the last 20 years, man. You know, Microsoft buys Bethesda, ZeniMax for what was it, $7.5 billion? Like, big fucking deal. You know,
dude, people are still underplaying that money. Shit.
Yeah. So, Brett, by the way, I stole your story from you. So go ahead. You can talk about it.
You did it with full knowledge that that's what I already figured that would happen.
Yeah. So go ahead, man. Tell us about it.
Dude, it was one of the largest acquisitions in some kind of history. I forget what it was. Like it's cost more than Marvel. Like it's a huge thing, but I do see a lot of people still underplaying it. Like, man, Bethesda doesn't really, have any games. They don't have any games that really interest me. Like, really, out of their entire roster, there's just nothing. They're like, no, it's fine. I don't need it. None of that sounds like any fun. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think it's
hilarious.
It's not only it's only really not. It's not even only Bethesda. It's id Software. It's a bunch of other studios.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a huge deal. Like
it's almost on the level of somebody getting Sega, because that's how much lineage is in that company. We're not talking just about Bethesda. We're talking about id Software and all the other companies that are in there, along with Bethesda, who's gobbled up all these other franchises. So they got some shit.
Yeah, and the thing I said before, right? And it's funny because this whole news came out like a day after we did Throw On Your Questions, and we were all like, yeah, man, Microsoft Game Pass, the reason that shit ain't doing so well is because they don't have any fucking games anybody cares about. Now they're going to have games people fucking care about, Now they got Bethesda games, they got id Software, they got Shinji Mikami's company, like, they got all these companies now. Now, like, not at the moment, obviously, but once they start putting out exclusive games on that thing, then I think Game Pass is going to be a real contender, because right now, objectively speaking, Game Pass is a good service. It's just they don't have anything compelling on it, because Microsoft first-party games this generation, they've made good games. They haven't made any great games, not on the level of Sony or Nintendo, right? Now they're going to have games that people give a fuck about. They're going to have Elder Scrolls 6. They're going to have Fallout 5. Like, people are going to go nuts for these things. And I know, their messaging has been kind of weird, because they don't want to flat out say these games will not be coming to Sony, right? They don't want to say that yet, but that's what I think is going to be the case. Those games are going to be locked down to Xbox, and it's going to drive up subscriptions, and it's a smart move. I know some people think they overpaid for ZeniMax. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but still, it's a good acquisition. Very smart. Microsoft used their actual exclusive. What is Microsoft's biggest exclusive? Money. So
money,
and they've used it. So this is a huge deal, and just to bring up the whole downplaying thing, the people who I see downplaying it are either Bethesda haters or Sony ponies. Let's just be real here. They're like, fuck Bethesda games. I didn't like them anyway. And then you look at their trophies. They got fucking Bethesda games everywhere. Bunch of salty dudes.
I look at. I mean, like, for me, I'm not really a big fan of Bethesda games, but I don't see. I'm not an idiot. I can definitely see that people totally love those fucking games, or the games that come from that studio. So it's a big deal. May not be a big deal for personally me, but I can't. I'm just I'm a minority in this situation. Most people love those games. So them picking up Microsoft picking up ZeniMax and Bethesda, that's a big fucking deal.
Yeah. Again, and to put more context into this, right? Because, when it all happened, we were wondering, Carlos, okay, what story is bigger than this? The only story I could think of, and this was 20 years ago, the biggest story was when Sega decided to stop producing consoles. That's how big this shit is, So to downplay it, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, And it, again, bodes well for Microsoft in the future moving forward. Now they're going to have actual first-party games people give a fuck about,
I think you just overlooked the other big one.
No, we're not there yet. Adam, we're talking about this one. Oh, you mean history-wise? What's the other one?
Yeah, history-wise. Yeah, is when Microsoft decided that they were going to jump in to the console market and take that shit serious.
Is that really a big deal, though? Everybody was jumping into consoles back then.
No, because they were like, oh, that's a software company. Now they're going to actually make something. And it was like,
It is
yeah,
a big deal. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But
and remember, and it had the Ethernet port, and it had a hard drive and an operating system. They were gonna bring online play. All that shit was like, you're making up shit. You're not Chris Angel. You can't pull this shit off in the console. We do that on the PC, and they did it.
Yeah, no, I'm not downplaying the Xbox, but I'm saying Sega, which was one of the biggest gaming companies on earth, just stopping console manufacturing. That's a big deal. With Microsoft, everybody was making Philips was making consoles. For all these other people were making consoles.
Sony was making consoles.
Sony was making consoles. You know what I'm saying? But but that's here or there. I mean, we pretty much covered the whole Bethesda thing pretty well. Unless you guys want to add any extra thoughts on it.
Yeah, these are the kind of news that I'm like, get me excited. You know, it's like Microsoft, they've had a really bad generation, in my opinion, this past generation. Just in terms of sheer number of quality and console sales. I guess the big shining light last generation was sort of their startup of Game Pass and building it up and getting all these new acquisitions and new development studios, like Ninja Theory, The Initiative, Double Fine, and all those. But this is a freaking Mount Everest of announcements. And like Manny was talking, that he's not a particular fan of those games. I am. I love the Elder Scrolls games. I love Fallout games. Doom, like all of those games are games that I buy day one, and I'm glad that Microsoft is taking the initiative, no pun intended, to make it more compelling to play on Xbox, whether that be Xbox on the PC or Xbox on your phone via Game Pass or Xbox on the consoles. So yeah, it's something that I'm looking forward to. I hope Microsoft lets Bethesda do them. And yeah, hopefully it all works out.
Yep. Chris, I want to get your thoughts from a financial standpoint. What does this all mean and, moving forward?
What does it mean for Microsoft or Bethesda?
Both.
For Microsoft, this is, it's not big news because this isn't their big moneymaker. Xbox isn't their biggest revenue division. The biggest revenue division is Azure and enterprise services. So to them, this foothold into gaming is pretty important to them because they're willing to put money into Xbox, even if it was in the red. They're willing to hold this space because it has attracted business to Azure. Look, Sony has become a client of Microsoft, actually leveraging Azure for themselves. So like this is a strategy in itself to garner business into their other sectors. For Bethesda, it's a big deal, right? Having more IPs and then having more license deals for those is a big deal. So they're looking for a return on investment that's huge. I mean, that's why you make all these acquisitions. So then being absorbed by a juggernaut like Microsoft, is a big deal because Microsoft is not drawing a line against Sony and Nintendo. So people just think of those three, right? Like those three competitors. It's not Microsoft trying to squeeze Sony or Nintendo. They're trying to squeeze Google and Amazon.
Yeah.
That's what they're really trying to squeeze out. Microsoft wants to dominate not just the gaming right now, but going forward with streaming and services. So they want to dominate that. So how do you dominate that? You control the biggest IPs, and you provide the highest quality service to attract more people to yours. So what do? You block. So if Bethesda was on the table, and it might have been, I don't know the nitty gritty of how that deal came about or how Microsoft acquired them, but maybe they were they were fostering deals. So who would you have at the table? You'd have Google at the table. Google has money. Google easily has Microsoft money and more, right? Apple might have been at the table. Nvidia maybe, I don't know. But so it behooves them to go, hey, we don't want Amazon taking them. We don't want Google taking it for Stadia. It's like, fuck that. We'll take it, and then we'll block their avenues, right? That's how competition works, and they have the money to do it.
Yeah. All right, man. There you go. Anything else you guys want to add to this, Bethesda's?
Yeah. I am kind of on the fence about this. On the one hand, it's great. Microsoft has more IPs to play with, which means that they can bolster their library, become more competitive, hence, i.e., bring out more games, which is always a very good thing. But on the other hand, Microsoft has a track record of just buying up companies and not doing shit with them, i.e., Rare. So I just don't want them to be like Rare, where Microsoft just buys them and then they sideline them to work on bullshit.
And then
That's just my biggest concern.
And then Bethesda's making avatars.
Yeah, again, it's just no. It's like if you're going to be buying up a whole bunch of IPs like that and a bunch of studios, then let them do what they keep on doing. Obviously, make them not have bugs in their games, but hey, it's Bethesda. So yeah, just make them make games. Make them continue to make games. Don't make them and sideline them off stuff that they don't do. You know, like if they do a whole bunch of RPGs, let them make RPGs. Obviously, let them venture out into other stuff. If they make good fantasy games, let them do fantasy games. If they do horror games, let them do horror games. For the love of God, do not touch Doom. Doom is fine. Somehow, Doom has come back like a phoenix. You know, from Doom 3, it rose up from the ashes, and everyone's like, "Wow, it's Doom. It's great." You know, Wolfenstein. After the last one, you can kind of sideline that for a bit until the bad taste goes out. But yeah, just let them do that. You know.
Was that Raven Software that did that one? The Wolfenstein? Wolfenstein?
It's in the Machine Games that does them now.
Oh, Machine Games, okay.
Still Machine Games, yeah.
Yeah, Machine Games, yeah.
It's funny. I keep saying Raven Software. That they did like the old version of Wolfenstein.
Yeah, but also Machine Games also said that this last one, the one with the sisters and all that stuff, that this was a test. They even said this wasn't a full-fledged Wolfenstein game. This was just, see if we can try to do something different. It didn't work out, so I'm sure the next one I'll be back on track.
No, there you go.